Hey everybody, how are we doing? I'm about to run over to the coffee shop, do a little bit of work, but I thought I would jump in here and give you guys a bit of an update. And just me talking for the last 10 seconds has stirred up my dogs. There they go. Kind of a rough weekend for pretty much everybody, especially here in the United States. As we all know, there were a couple of mass shootings. Lots of fun there. I got a lot of tweets from people, like a surprising number of tweets from people who were asking if I was okay because of the El Paso shooting, because they know I'm in Texas, and it's very nice. It's very appreciated that people are concerned, and I do appreciate it. But I did just kind of laugh a little bit every time I saw it, because if you don't know anything about Texas, it's a long way from Dallas to El Paso, like a really long way. It is literally closer. El Paso is literally closer to LA than it is to Dallas by a little bit, but not that much. So no, I am about as far away from that event, thankfully, as anybody in the world. So I'm safe. I'm good. We're all good. This weekend was a little extra hard for me though. Like yesterday, I woke up and the El Paso thing had already happened, and then I woke up and made the dumb mistake, and I don't know when I'm ever going to learn this lesson. Don't check your frickin' phone while you're still laying in bed. Get out of bed, make some coffee, start your day, then check your phone. Don't just look there and then just start your day with the torrent of negativity that is the internet. But I did that yesterday morning, and not only did I find out about another mass shooting, but I also found out that somebody that I know and who I think is a really great guy. That sounded sarcastic. It's not sarcastic. He is an outstanding human being. He died in a car wreck. Drunk driver, ran a stoplight, going really fast, drunk, killed him. He was a guy that I met. His name was Kent Williamson. He lived in Charlottesville, North Carolina. I met him at when I did my film festival run in the 2004, 2005 kind of thing. So it's been a long time since I first met him, and we didn't like hang out or anything, but he was somebody I knew, and we stayed in touch over social media ever since then. He's a guy he's a very religious guy. He's faith-based, you might say, which probably puts him slightly at odds with probably most of the people on this channel. I don't think I have a very religious audience, but he was a very open-minded kind of guy, and he did documentaries about the failings of evangelicism and how it needs to be more inclusive and more open. He did a documentary called Stained Glass Rainbows that was about bringing the LGBT community into the faith, not to convert them or anything like that, but to love them as God says we should all love each other, that kind of thing. He was very much on that side of the thing. He was a religious guy. He was a man of faith, but he was very open, and he loved everybody, and he hated to see bigotry and racism and the kind of negative stuff that can kind of creep in with religious beliefs. And he fought against it, and he made documentaries about it. There was one, I'll put a link in the description of this if you're curious. I think his films are important things, and I think it's his legacy, and I want to kind of honor him by talking about it. But no, he did that one about the LGBT community called Stained Glass Rainbows. He made one called Rebellion of Thought that was also just sort of like looking at where evangelical Christians especially are going, and the negative ways that it's kind of going there, and how we can kind of, push against that. He made a documentary that interviewed about a lot of Vietnam veterans, and again, it's from a faith perspective, but it was called By War and By God. So he did a lot of documentaries. The film that I actually met him from when I did the festival run was actually a little romantic drama called When Love Walks In, that he actually starred in and directed himself, which is what I did on my film. So we had a lot in common. And anyway, it's a very low budget indie romantic drama. It's kind of got a Lifetime movie quality to it. So I don't mean that in a bad way. It just that's just kind of that's its aesthetic, I suppose. And it definitely has its audience of like sort of Christian people, because I think the main character is a preacher or whatever. But anyway, he was a really great guy. And I did not like hearing that had happened to him. And anyway, this is my way of kind of putting it out there and honoring him. Yeah, yesterday was a bad day. And you know, for those of you who have been following me for a long time, you know that I have had anxiety issues at times, and I don't know. I've been feeling a little bit of that start to creep back in a little bit lately. It's not taken over. I'm okay, but I'm gonna have to do a whole video about this. So I'm just gonna touch on it now, or maybe tease it now. But I've just been reading a lot lately about civilizational collapse, how it's happened in the past, how we might be heading for something like that in the future. There's a lot of signs pointing to a recession that's going to be coming soon, not because of who's in charge or anything like that, but just because it's a cyclical thing, and we are way past due for a recession, or what they call it, a correction in the markets. And it's a bit more challenging for me now that I'm self-employed, you know, that I'm kind of on my own and there's not really a net per se. I don't know how it's going to affect me. But anyway, I've also been watching the show Years and Years on HBO, which I have to say, like the second episode in, I almost had to like turn it off because it was just like really, it just has this impending sense of doom to it. They did a really good job of fostering that, but I don't know. I've been having to sort of like separate myself from that stuff, and with the mass shootings, and of course it's not necessarily the shootings themselves, it's the negativity and all the anger and everything that comes up all over, you know, the internet and whatnot, and then this, you know, this guy dying, that lovely anxiety was starting to creep back in, and I'm still kind of battling it a little bit, but I'm okay. It's all right. One good thing that happened this weekend, I know this is kind of all over the place, but my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law, so my wife's mother and sister, came and visited yesterday just we basically went to lunch, and then they left town. They were just kind of like in here for a thing. Anyway, we stopped at the coffee shop, actually. She was getting some coffee for the drive home, and a guy stopped me on the way out. And he was like, "Hey, are you on YouTube?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you know." And so I shook his hand and had a very brief conversation with him, and his name was Xenon. I was blown away. How do you have a name like Xenon? That's insane. That's awesome. And apologies to Xenon if he happens to be watching this, because I was with them and I had to kind of bail, so I couldn't talk for very long. But that's seriously something that almost never happens. Like, it happened once at VidCon, but that's sort of expected because it's a YouTube thing, and there's YouTube people there, and I mean, there's that. It happened when I was in Florida a lot, but again, SpaceX launch, that's kind of, you know, of course those are my peeps that are going to be there. But just in my daily life, it almost never happens. I could count on one hand the number of times it's happened in the whole time that I've been on YouTube, and still have a couple fingers left. But it happened yesterday, and it happened like right in front of my in-laws. So I was like, you know, it felt kind of cool. That was pretty nice. I like that. And they were all like, "Ooh, look at you," and I'm like, "Yeah, that kind of thing." I make those noises. And the bathroom got finished. I did do a video, I think, I did a video where I was talking about how we're breaking it down and why we're doing it. And I posted the results on Instagram if you guys want to go check it out there. I might do a video at some other point where I show the results, because it came out pretty nice. We're pretty happy with it. We had to kind of reorganize everything in our bathroom because the space is different, but that's okay. There's still a lot of cleaning up to do and dust everywhere, but that's okay. We got it done, and I can enjoy it again, so that's nice. But that's all this is, a little check-in. I might actually be doing a bit more of the TMI kind of content. There's a lot on my mind lately that doesn't really fit on the main channel. And I think that's when I'm talking about my anxiety stuff. Like, I think being able to talk about it helps and put this out there. And I think you guys all kind of understand where that's coming from. But also another thing is, my wife started back at work today. So many people know she's a teacher, and her school started up again this week. And I just feel weird when she's here whipping out my phone and recording something like this. Maybe it's something I'm going to eventually get over, but I've been doing this 5 years and I still feel weird about it. So I don't know. But it's just different when I have the house to myself and she's not here. It's like I can record stuff really easily. I can do this and not feel self-conscious about it. So anyway, just because of that, I might be able to do some more than I have been lately. But anyway, that's all. Just a quick check-in. I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you had a better weekend than I did. But yeah, I'll put links down below if you're curious about these movies. If the topics sound interesting to you. Kent was a really great guy, and I think he was doing good things in the world, and he shouldn't have been taken. It shouldn't have happened. It's just sucks. Anyway, on that positive note, I hope you guys are okay. I will talk to you soon. Love you guys. Later.